Hey guys, welcome back to the boardroom. Today in this segment, we've got a new story for you, and a new story that just come out with a mineral resource estimate on the Juby Gold Project. Mark Trevesio, right? I said that right? CEO of McFarlane. Welcome here into our studio in Toronto.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Pleasure to be here.
Like I've mentioned, you've got a resource out on your gold project. Before we get into the details of that, talk to us about project basics, details.
Well, the story starts in northeastern Ontario. It's within the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. We've got an asset called the Juby Gold Project that has been drilled for over 20 years off and on. And over that time, per our latest mineral resource, there's over 4 million ounces of gold there. And that was at lower prices of $2,500 gold. At today's prices, there's over 5 million ounces of gold there. So we're pretty excited to have the project. It's one that we acquired recently, and it's getting a kickstart going forward because it's been on a previous mining company's books and wasn't really being developed. So we're happy to have it, happy to promote it, and happy to build the next gold mine in northeastern Ontario.
Well, talk to us about some key highlights about the resource.
Yeah, so the resource, as I mentioned, it's roughly 3.2 million ounces of inferred resource and about 1 million ounces of indicated resource. The gold grades vary between about 0.9 and 1 gram per ton. But within that, there is high-grade zones, and that's what we're working to exploit, at least in the near term. We'd like to do the proper permitting processes to try to get at that ore and start shipping ore for generating cash flow. The other thing that was highlighted in the 43-101 report was that there was over 5 million ounces, 5.4 million ounces, about 4.2 in inferred and about 1.2 in indicated resources. That was disseminated at $3,750 gold, so $3,750 US per ounce of gold. So as the gold price is going up, so is our resource, but we're not stopping there. We'd like to start to develop the project more.
Well, you were just saying that a near-term priority is to exploit the higher grade zones, focus on getting cash flow going as soon as possible. Obviously, that's where investors want to hear more about. So what's in place to get that going with the team? How fast can you get there?
Very good. So there's several things that we're doing in parallel. Under Ontario regulations, there's a process where you have to do what's called environmental baseline study work. And we've just engaged a group to commence that. So that involves things like sampling vegetation in the area, sampling water, both surface water, the stuff you would see in lakes and ponds, and then groundwater, where you'd have to drill probably down 20 to 50 meters and take groundwater samples and set these wells up across the site. So that data requires about 12 to 18 months worth of work in the field.
And so then that's the minimum.
Baseline. Yeah. So the minimum is 12 months of data before you can submit to get an extraction permit, whether that's what's termed advanced exploration or apply for a mining permit. You need all that data.
Mm-hmm. And for people who aren't really familiar with gold, let's say, right? We've got listeners who are in that camp as well. Let's say you're permitted, you're ready to go. What do you need so that you can get the gold out and out to the market?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, to get some expedited cash flow, we're going to need an agreement with a processing mill.
Right.
Within 150 kilometers of site, there's 9 active processing facilities.
Great.
Okay, and if I look into Quebec, you can double that. All right, so that's also a potential for us. So there's the opportunity there, and we're starting to have discussions with various mills in the area. And then obviously the permitting is pretty important, and then site prep. right? You've got to start to prepare the site. You have to, properly arrange things so that the transport and the extraction of waste and ore are properly segregated at the site. And you've got to put in what's called financial assurance, which is basically a bond or cash that you put up to the Ontario government to say, well, if things don't go all that well, we can close the site, and here's the money that we have to properly close the site.
Yep.
So a lot of steps yet.
I mean, this business, the world of junior mining, is high stakes. Most mines never really get into production. But why McFarlane, right, compared to peers in the area, peers in Canada?
Well, we've got, the way I term it, we check a lot of the boxes. And here's the key ones that are checked with this project. We have the infrastructure. There's a provincial highway that actually crosses our northern claims, Highway 560. So we have access to roads. It's right there. And then there's a main Ontario hydro power line that crosses the western part of our claims, and that's a 500 kilovolt line. So there's lots of power on that line available. Those are two big items that in the world of developing a mine are usually big capital items to do, and we don't have to sink that capital in to do that. So the next thing is that we're in a country, in part of the country where there's mining all over the area. So you have access to mine services. You have access to people, to operators who understand mining, to people who have run mills and understand how to run a mill. So you have the skill sets there. You have access to skill sets, and they're not. We don't have to put them on a plane and then fly them into a fly-in camp. The roads are right there. The population base is there. We've got a 25,000 person population base within 90 to 100 kilometers. So that's significant. So that's a big check mark in the box.
Well, talk to us about how you're valued compared to other juniors that are comparable to you. Obviously, you're going to tell me you're undervalued, but why? Why make the case for us?
When you just look at the number of ounces that we've released in our latest mineral resource, and you look at comparable properties in Ontario that have kind of similar size, a similar type of extraction, like open pit extraction methods, they're trading at values anywhere from 4 up to 8 times higher in terms of market cap per ounce. There's been a history of this property not being in the limelight. And
why is that? Why has it not been developed by other owners?
The previous owners are making a lot of money doing what
Elsewhere.
They're doing right now.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, and they can make a lot more by expanding some of their own operations, and so they're focused on that. It's a strict business decision, and we're happy to champion this project. Sometimes I pinch myself because there's a number of things that it checks off that a lot of other mining projects just don't have, and I didn't even talk about the metallurgical recoveries are better than 90% in the ore that's been tested, and that opens up a realm of being able to sell this product to a mineral processor and him being satisfied with the kind of recoveries that the ore is producing for him.
As we near the end of our conversation, Mark, can you summarize for us in a few sentences, a few words, what sorts of catalysts are next here?
The main one would be that we're drilling. We're going to expand our resource. And we're doing it because there's easy fruit that we've identified for expansion. We believe we can add 1 million ounces, which, if you look at our comparables in the business, that 1 million ounces should generate at least another 40 to 50 million in market cap value.
And remind us what that million is on top of already within the estimate?
Yeah, 4.2.
Okay.
So basically a 25% expansion of the resource at $2,500 gold. Right? So that's one thing. I think through the coming year, we're going to be updating all of our stakeholders on how the environmental study work is going. And then we plan to go into a full scoping study later on after we've done updated our resource after the drilling's completed, and we'll do a full scoping study. So it gets that much closer to being an economic story, and when can you start type of story.
Of course. Well, appreciate you being here to tell us yourself about the McFarlane story.
Very good. Thank you for having us here.
So guys, it's MLM.
Yes.
Yes, MLM. Full tickers, though, are below for you. Of course, search that on CEO.CA to go to the company's message board where investors are talking to one another, and you can check sentiment for yourself. Thanks for watching.